The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Basketball with JUT. My name is Jayden Thibeault, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. I have a special guest joining me here today, Joe Taft. How are you today, Joe?
I'm great, man. It's a great day to be a Celtics fan. First championship since I was 10 years old, so I'm pretty fired up.
Are you excited to be here to talk about all this fun final news?
I'm stoked. Yeah. This was a blast last time, and I promised I'd be back after the Celtics won it all, and they went
Here
ahead
we
and
are.
did it. So, yeah, let's do it.
In today's episode, we'll be talking about how the Celtics muscled their way into the 18th NBA championship. As usual, there'll be 3 NBA trivia questions about the finals, so let's get started because a lot has happened. To start off, let's congratulate the Boston Celtics. What a series, Joe. Let's talk about each of the players now. We have Tatum, Brown, White, Holiday, Porzingis, Horford, and Pritchard, and all of our talented bench players. Jason Tatum is always the best player on our team, but Brown is a close second for us as he is always playing tough, has the craziest highlights on our team in this playoff run. Holiday is always scoring and defending at a high level, and has a willingness to compete at all times. White is a defensive menace on the court, and is a machine that does not stop. Porzingis is always shooting lights out while defending in the post, really well after missing 30 days. Horford and Pritchard bring a big spark to our team that we needed in order to be in the spot with their shooting and high basketball IQ. Joe, what do you think about our players in this final series? Who do you think is the best, Tatum or Brown?
That's a tough spot you're putting me in. I think that overall, well, look, first off, the guys played great, and besides Game 4, most of our players showed up. It was very exciting to watch. I think overall, though, I mean, like Tatum's the guy who is like the cover athlete. You know what I mean? Like he's the one who's going to be.
Yeah.
He's first team All NBA. He's like a 30-point scorer. Like he's the face of the team, but we couldn't get to the point that we had without Jaylen Brown, who literally just won the MVP of the past 2 series, including the finals. So I think that it's tough for me to say who is the best, which is, I think, says a lot about Jaylen Brown, because considering last year what people were saying about him and what he could and couldn't do on the floor, I think it speaks to a lot of growth.
Yep. Totally agree. Joe Mazzulla actually was praising Pritchard for that buzzer beater in Game 2 and again in Game 4. Wow, those are shots that are historical. Jaylen Brown also hit 10,000 career points, so shout out to him for his MVP awards, because he deserves it with all of his hard work, like you said. Joe, what are your thoughts about Pritchard and Brown's achievements?
I mean, Finals MVP is nothing to sleep on. That's one of the biggest accomplishments that you can possibly get in your entire NBA career. But at the same time, like Peyton Pritchard hit some unbelievable half-court shots there at the end of the halves. That I was saying after the game last night, that's the first time I've ever seen a game-winning buzzer beater at halftime, because I felt like as soon as that shot went in, like that felt like the dagger. Like that was when the game, there was no coming back for Dallas.
Especially because they were like up the whole game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It never felt as though the Mavericks really were, like, that deflated them to the point where it felt like the dagger. It felt like that was the game.
Yeah. The defensive play between Holiday and White was amazing. I don't know where we would be without Holiday's consistent plays throughout the playoffs. Joe, do you agree about this?
100%. It's honestly very interesting how the first game that Holiday didn't play well was the one game that we lost in the series. I mean, there were other guys who didn't play well also, but especially defensively, like, you could also give a lot of credit to Dallas for having a very strong defensive Game 4 at home and just playing really well in front of their crowd. But when Drew Holiday, I think it speaks volumes when the fact that when Drew Holiday had a bad game, we lost, and when he came out and had the first like 4 points or 6 points of Game 5. yeah, it felt like we were locked and loaded because Drew was playing well. And defensively, both of those guys just give us so much. Marcus Smart was a great player and a great Celtic, but he had his traits that made him more difficult to win with at the highest level. And so, but he's arguably one of the best defenders we've seen on the Celtics in the past, I don't know, the 2000s in this century. And so, because he won a Defensive Player of the Year, I think the only one otherwise in the 21st century is KG. And so, to make up for the defense lost with Marcus, you needed a couple of guys who can really lock down on the perimeter, and you got that with Derek White and Drew Holiday.
Yeah, those are all good points. Let's talk about the Mavericks, who have Luka, Kyrie, Gafford, Washington, Dick Jones Jr., and some key bench role players for them. Luka has been putting up ridiculous and out of this world stats, as he averages nearly 30 points a game, and Kyrie has definitely been struggling, especially in Boston. Gafford is their best rim protector, and Washington has been putting up a lot of points. Dick Jones Jr. and Derek Lively are key pieces, as they have crazy athleticism and dunking combined. The bench with Exum, Hardaway Jr., and Josh Green, and Jane Hardy all contribute with their different talents. They struggled with Boston's defense, and they got locked up by White and Holiday in the series. Joe, what do you think about the Mavs? How could they have executed the game plan better?
That's interesting. They were in it. They were in for a tough series from the very beginning. Going up against the Celtics is almost like going up against an all-star team, especially when Kristaps Porzingis is out on the floor. They're well coached, they're disciplined, they play good defense, and they just knock down threes. But so overall, I think that what probably would have helped the Mavericks at least make this more of a series would have been more production from Tim Hardaway Jr. Throughout the series, because during the regular season, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was their number 3 scorer behind the top
he was
two
one
guys.
of the best.
And so since he wasn't performing and not really putting up, the only time he was really putting up any points was garbage time of game 4 when the whole bench was in. And so I think that they depended on him, or maybe they didn't depend on him very much, because it seemed like whenever he shot, he wasn't making them, and then they stopped turning to him. Derek Jones Jr. can't be your number 3 scoring option, or even not Gafford, but the young kid Lively played really well when he got a chance, but also they didn't really play him very much in game 3. So I think that the Mavericks have obviously a lot of potential, but they also have a lot of work to do to get back to where they just were, because there are teams in the West that aren't gonna stay put either.
But I feel like once next season comes around, they're definitely going to be a lot better, because they're going to have a lot more experience.
Yeah, more experience. They playing the Celtics in the finals, but then also they'll probably add some more players. Maybe I don't think they have very many draft picks, but definitely through free agency they could use another guy.
Yeah, the coach of the Mavs, Jason Kidd, was talking about Brown and how he was better than Tatum.
He did say that.
Joe, why do you think Kidd was saying this, knowing he wants to keep them apart and separate their teamwork?
Well, I think that's exactly why he was trying to insert a wedge between the guys in the middle of the finals, and he knew that if either of those players, Tatum or Brown, were as fragile as the media makes them out to be, that comment would have caused some friction, and it really didn't. I think that a lot of it can go toward the players, and then and probably the whole rest of that can go to the coaching and just how effective Joe Mazzulla's game plan was for the entire series, and especially game 5, because we came out and they executed the game plan in game 5 better than they did in any other game in the series. A few of the games, maybe game 1 worked out pretty well, but game 1 they did come back a little bit, but overall that was the Kristaps game,
Oh yeah, they were down by 21, I think, and then they made that fourth quarter come. Yeah.
They ran it back to 8, but yeah, that was the Kristaps game, and that was just that was obviously super fun to watch, but the execution of the game plan was really, really on point in Game 5. Like, guys were hitting shots, guys were getting to the spaces they needed to be, and it worked out.
Yep. Now it's time for our first NBA trivia question. So let's see if you know your finals trivia. You won't want to miss this shocking answer. So stay tuned, and Joe, take it away.
All right, so the question for you guys today is, who has scored the most points in one single game in the NBA Finals? You got 4 legends on the board. Was it A, LeBron James, B, Michael Jordan, C, Elgin Baylor, or D, Jerry West? Before we tell you the answer, we're going to take a quick commercial break, so stay tuned because you don't want to miss it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the official first episode of Eatin' with ECAT. My name is Joseph Taft.
I'm Jack Ryan.
And I'm Abby Kitchenham.
We are, in fact, your co-hosts, and we are determined to bring you all the big eats that you can handle. So listen, if you're a foodie, you're not going to want to miss any of the action. Check out our website, www.eastoncat.org, or find us on social, at EastonCat, to find this episode on demand.
Oh, you're going down, Kitchenham. You're going down. You're going down.
I got through the foam, and I'm getting a little more down to the... It's like...
The fact that there's jelly in this just unsettles me.
A Reuben sandwich is the best sandwich out. The sauerkraut mixed with the Thousand Island and the rye bread.
This is something I have never seen before.
We're good. We're all family here.
Where does the ice cream begin?
Big
and
bite.
The whipped cream. And
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my podcast. And if you guys see, Elgin Baylor, then you'll be correct. Because he actually was on the Lakers. He had scored 61 points, which is crazy when you think about it. He did this in 1962, and the Lakers won this series. Joe, have you heard about Elgin Baylor scoring this many points in this game?
Honestly, no. I mean, I'd heard about Elgin Baylor. He's a fantastic player, but I definitely didn't know that he put up 61 in a finals game. I wouldn't have picked him.
I would have never said him, yep.
Yeah.
Looking back at all the games in this last series, which was 5, for Game 1, the Celtics beat the Dallas Mavericks 107-89. It was a blowout. Celtics were just manhandling the Mavericks, as Porzingis was like Superman doing everything for us. Porzingis ended up with 20 points and 3 blocks, and the Brown added that to that with 22 points and 3 blocks. Also, as they were one of the scariest duos we have had in a long time. Tatum was struggling for scoring and shooting, but he was doing some flashy passes and playmaking at an extremely high level because we don't need him to score 30-plus every game. Horford, White, and Holiday all had a solid game as they contributed some high-volume scoring. We had a lot of good highlights with Brown's dunking to Porzingis' blocking shots to Tatum passing. Joe, what do you think about Game 1?
Yeah, it was a super fun game to watch. I mean, I think you covered the majority of it. Like, the atmosphere of just Kristaps getting in that game, and I wasn't necessarily sure what was going to happen because he'd been out for so long and he was coming off the bench, and I wasn't sure how that was going to work out, and it worked out beautifully. I mean, he was hitting shot after shot, getting chased down blocks down the other end. He looked like a unicorn, and that game never really felt super close.
Yeah. Now, over on the Mavs side, they had Kyrie and Luka, and Kyrie played like crap because Holiday and White would not let him do anything. Jane Hardy and PG Washington both stepped up because no one else besides Kyrie, Luka, Hardy, and Washington scored it all. It was a really disappointing game for them, but as we all know, it's all due to the fact that the Celtics fans were crazy and rowdy. Celtics fans were not making it easier for the players as they were playing mind games with Luka and Kyrie especially. Joe, what could the Mavs have done in this game to not make them lose by nearly 20 points? How did the Celtics fans do overall in the atmosphere?
What could the Mavs have done to not have lost by 20? Lost in the Western Conference Finals. Not been there at all. I don't think that they were matched up well enough to take us on in this series, hands down, period.
For Game 2, Celtics won, but it was a lot closer and a better matchup as the Celtics won 105-98. One thing that a lot of people are talking about is how the Mavs averaged 109 points per game during the regular season, but in the finals series, they only averaged 94 points per game, as is a big decrease for them. Celtics just outperformed the Celtics. The Celtics just outperformed the Mavs in this game 2. It was definitely a lot closer and intense in game 2. For the Celtics, it was all Tatum, Brown, Holiday, and White. The bench played solid, but they had some areas where they definitely could have played better. For the Mavs, all the players in the starting lineup had over 10 points in that game as they were playing with better teamwork and chemistry in game 2. Joe, what are your thoughts on game 2? And thoughts on Jason Kidd and how he coached throughout the series in this?
Yeah, I would say that game 2. Well, that's a tough question. I think that for game 2, it was a tighter game throughout, as you already said. And again, Tatum wasn't necessarily doing his thing when it comes to scoring the ball. Luka was doing his thing. He was getting some buckets, but for the most part, at home, like it was. This is a tough one. I'm trying to regather my thoughts. I'll probably just run that again. But look, game 2 was much closer, and overall, I think even though Tatum wasn't necessarily knocking down shots like he ended up later in the series, he was able to do a lot of things right with playmaking and rebounding. He almost had a triple-double, even though I think he only had like 15 or 16 points and a lot of misses. But Jaylen Brown played great. Everybody continued to play well. But this is also the game that Kristaps got hurt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so that was slightly concerning. When it comes to Kidd, I mean, that was right after, I think. It was after game 1 when he made those comments about Brown and Tatum. I would say, like, coaching-wise, I mean, defensively, they were able to kind of get it together for game 4, but otherwise, that's a real tough team to stop, especially when you have the personnel that the Mavericks did. I mean, I would say maybe, what's one thing that he could have done a little bit better? I mean, look, I'm not an NBA coach, I guess, but I would just say, like, Tim Hardaway, he really, really disappeared in this series, and Kyrie too in Boston. So it was really leaving a lot on Luka's plate to have to clean up for the other guys. And so I think finding different ways to get the secondary scorers involved definitely would have helped a lot at that point in the series.
I think Kidd needed... I think, like, one thing for me that Kidd could have done better throughout the series is, like, play, like, all of his players more and, like, get them the ball more, like, in different plays, and try to, at least. But
yeah, sure. I mean, I understand that, but at the same time, you have a guy like Luka who demands volume. He puts up shots, and he was hitting a lot of them in those first 2 games especially. But it seemed like each game, once it hit the fourth quarter, it was like Luka kind of disappeared on it in his own way,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And moving on to game 3, Celtics won 106-99, as it should not have been this close during this game. Celtics were down 15-3 in the first 6 minutes of this game, and we persevered to go into halftime. We were only down by 1. In the third quarter, we came out on an 8-0 run. Then going into the fourth quarter, we were up by 21, but the Mavs came back with a vengeance. The Mavs could have easily won this game, but Celtics finished strong. In Dallas, the Mavs fans came out in the first quarter with a ton of energy. Joe, what do you think about the reaction of the Mavs fans? How loud they were?
Yeah, they came out ready. I mean, it was game 3 of the finals. Their team was down 0-2, and they needed a spark. And unfortunately, they couldn't sneak game 3 from us, and I think that was ultimately, like, the deciding factor. When you look at their offensive outpour, especially with Kyrie, I think he felt a lot more comfortable when he was in Dallas than when he was playing in Boston. And yeah, overall, that was probably the most difficult win, for the Celtics throughout the series, just to go out and win on the road and steal one in game 3, even though game 4 clearly didn't go well. But yeah, that's a tough one for the Mavericks to take. Go down 0-3 in the finals when no team in the NBA, in the history of the NBA, has come back from a 3-0. It pretty much felt like it was all said and done once the Celtics got that one done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Staying on Game 3, the Celtics had a great comeback in the first half and making the plays that we really needed. Kyrie, Luka, and Tatum and Brown all had extremely big games for both sides. Big Al was our X factor in this game, how he contributed to us winning that game. Joe, how do you think he contributed to us winning that game?
Honestly, I'm not exactly remembering how much Al did in Game 3, unfortunately. I apologize. Can't remember.
I'm trying to remember too. Hold on.
Yeah. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Alright, Jim Mazzilli just outcoached Jason Kidd yet again, but it was extremely close, so I'll give the Mavs some credit. I think Jason Kidd has done a great job in turning the Dallas Mavericks team completely around. We were lucky Luka fouled out with 4 minutes and 12 seconds left in the game, which was a key loss for them. Since it looked like we were going down the wire, we were losing momentum. Joe, what do you think about this game and the comeback they made in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, so I definitely remember Luka fouling out and being really surprised that he tried to take a charge on the play that he did, because I'm pretty sure that was when they were in the middle of a but it was pretty much when that run ended. They were on a 20-2 run, and the Celtics couldn't buy a bucket, and he tried to step in front of Jaylen Brown like on a fast break and take a charge, and his feet were clearly moving. And they called a foul on him, and he fouled out, and he was not happy about the call. Pretty much a commonality throughout the series that you saw again and again, a repeating occurrence. Overall, though, I mean, once Luka went out of that game, it felt like, well, you know what? We're going to have to really play poorly to lose this game at this rate. And Kyrie would have to, take over. And I think Kyrie ended up having, 31 points. But like Jaylen Brown said, it wasn't enough.
How would the outcome of the game be different if Luka got to play in the final 4 minutes?
I mean, that's when Luka. I mean, at least we would have been able to see him at home in clutch time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that Game 4 there was no clutch time. For Dallas, because they were up the whole game. But Game 3, It definitely would have been. It would have been tough. It definitely would have been. That's why I'm saying, once he went out of the game, I had a pretty good feeling we were going to take it, even though we were on a massive. We were going up against a massive 20-2 run by Dallas.
Yeah. Okay, now time for our second NBA Finals trivia question. It's a challenging question for you sports fans out there. Joe, see if you can guess too, and take it away.
All right, so your second trivia question today is: who has the most career steals in the finals? Is it A, LeBron James, B, Kobe Bryant, C, Magic Johnson, or D, Scottie Pippen? Before you get that answer, we're going to go on another quick commercial break, and we will be back for the answer.
Here we go. My name is Harrison Young, and after 13 years of talk show experience, I seek to bring you the best in interviews with some of the very best guests around, including, and there we are, experts.
I've seen thousands of demons actually come out of the mirror one time.
Wow. Musical guests and artists.
If I say how I feel, would you really listen?
And interesting characters of all types.
I threw that kid across the classroom. Look, he didn't try that ever again.
Wow. Join me at Topic Time on your Eastern cable station anytime they want to play it. And what I understand, that's quite a few times a day. I love it.
Welcome back, everyone. And if you guys see, Magic Johnson, the new, would be correct. Magic actually got 102 career steals in the finals, which is impressive. It is 10 more than the person in second place, who is none other than the man, the myth, the legend, LeBron James. Do you think about Magic Johnson getting this much steals? Does this surprise you?
I wouldn't say it surprises me. I'd have to know exactly how many games, NBA Finals games, Magic has played in to really, because I have a feeling LeBron has played more. But Magic is Showtime, you know what I mean? So it doesn't surprise me whatsoever.
Going into Game 4, when the Celtics lost 122-84, how about the Celtics fans that flew out there to see this disappointing game? I know I was disappointed and thought Tatum and Brown looked like zombies, as well as the rest of our team. I would say that was a zombie apocalypse. Joe, what do you think about those poor Boston fans?
Yeah, that was a tough one to watch. If you flew yourself out to go potentially catch a sweep, I mean, hopefully you're able to make it to game 5 as well, because I'm sure, one, you're probably in a position where you could buy a whole bunch of finals tickets because those tickets were so expensive. But anyways, I just think that game 4 was rough. That was painful to watch. I wanted to turn it off, but I didn't. I forced myself not to because you have to go through some pain to get to the promised land.
I think I might have turned it off in the fourth quarter, like before it even started, because I was like, because I had to go to school the next day, and so I was like, oh my god, this is bad. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Celtics bench did step up in this game as they were the only signs of life. The Mavs played outstanding as they had their backs against the walls, and they persevered to win this game 4. Luka, Kyrie, Gafford, and Lively all had a great game for the Mavs, and they were on fire. Mavs fans were coming out with a vengeance, and they showed it. Joe, do you think the Celtics just wanted to win at home?
I have heard that narrative. I have a tough time legitimately buying into it, but at the same time, I don't think they were upset about getting the chance to close it out in Boston on the anniversary of the Celtics winning in 2008. It worked out. It was one of those funny coincidences that you can't even write that in a screenplay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now for Game 5, Celtics won 106-88. Celtics played confident and strong throughout the game and handily beat the Mavs. Every player on the court contributed to that win, and it was truly a team win. Jason Tatum had a great game as they won because of his passing and rebounds and his defensive intensity. Drew Holiday had some amazing plays as he had some really good hustle. Hazard was on the money with his threes and defense. Peyton Pritchard had a crazy buzzer beater to end the half. The players and the fans went crazy. Jaylen Brown and Al Horford had some really good stats as they had solid games of scoring and rebounding, just doing whatever our team needs in order to win. I think Joe Mazzulla also had a good game plan coming into this game. Also, the Mavs players just could not keep up. Jason Kidd did not have any answers for the Celtics, as it was a Dallas Maverick massacre. Luka and Kyrie were struggling, but Luka had a good game overall. Joe, what do you think about this great historical win? How did the fans affect the Mavs players?
It was a special game to watch. So it was my dad's birthday yesterday, and so, which is funny because it was the anniversary of them winning in 08 as well. It was the same date, June 17th, and so it was definitely super cool to be able to watch the game with him and watch the Celtics get it done because, like, it's historic. I mean, you're talking about a franchise. We're kind of like the New York Yankees of basketball because the Yankees are always known for celebrating their championships from like 50 plus years ago, but not really having done as much recently. And so it's nice for the C's to get themselves on the board with another championship here in the 21st century and kind of assert themselves, considering the amount of times they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals in the past 8 years and getting to the finals a couple years ago and losing. It was a special game, and I think that the atmosphere in Boston absolutely affected the players, the Mavericks players. I think that those guys checked out in the second half, honestly. I think that once Pritchard hit that shot and the second half started strong for the Celtics, like,
game over.
They knew they weren't coming back. Not with that crowd bringing all the emotion that they did. It was over.
Joe, what are your thoughts of Joe Mazzulla's great year, what he has accomplished as the youngest head coach, and unique style of coaching, and how is he different from past coaches that we have had?
Look, I love Joe Mazzulla, and I think he's a math guy. He understands that if we play good defense, hoist up threes, not just crazy threes, but like open threes, and if he can find ways to get guys into positions to take open shots, that if the percentages line up the right way, then we're gonna have a great chance to win the game, especially with the players on the roster. So I think Joe's great. I'm really glad that it worked out for him, considering the journey that he's been on. And he's definitely a unique coach. Like, he went out there and stuck to his guns and I mean, very different coaching style than say like Ime Udoka or Brad even or Doc Rivers. You know, you could talk about all of them, but Joe did it in his own way, and I thought that was really special.
What do you think he ranks, like in general?
I mean, he's higher than all the coaches that don't have a championship. You know what I mean? And he's still super young and has a chance to build upon that resume and that legacy. But I mean, for like Celtics head coaches, are you asking?
Honestly, I would actually just say like current head coaches, like
all the coaches in the league.
Yeah.
Again, though, there's coaches in the league like Spoelstra who have like multiple championships and Popovich and so it's hard. But I think that if we're talking about legacy, he's moving his way up the ranks. But when it comes to like who's the best coach in the NBA today, he's definitely relatively high on the list, probably top 10. You know, you can't discredit or discount, I should say, the amazing players on this roster. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay, now time for our last and final question about the finals. Stay tuned because I think you will find it interesting. Joe, take it away. Let's see if we can guess along too.
All right, guys. So your final trivia question: which player has the most rebounds in one single finals game? Is it A, Dennis Rodman, B, Wilt Chamberlain, C, Bill Russell, or D, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? You'll find out right after this.
Hi there, I'm Gail Devins, and join me as we discover all the businesses that made Easton great. This is a wonderful, wonderful place. I cannot wait. I want to do it. I want to go there. I am definitely coming back, and I know you will too, because I'm telling you something. It is absolutely amazing in here. What a wonderful way to discover Easton. It's right here in Easton. Showing at noon on Mondays, 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, and 11 a.m. on Fridays, only on ECAT.
Welcome back, everyone, to my podcast. If you guys see Bill Russell, then you'll be correct, with 40 rebounds in one game where the record is still not beat. Bill holds this record since Game 7 of the 1962 NBA Finals. He also had 30 points that game to beat the LA Lakers. Obviously, the Celtics have a heck of a journey and dominated the NBA this year. Although the pressure may be on a little different, it will certainly be on their minds to win another one next year. Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens have done an amazing job for this team. Hope we could do this good again next year. Now I want to talk about some players on the Celtics, how much it meant to them, like Tatum and Brown, who have been on this journey for a couple of years. Holiday won and earned his second win title as one with the Bucks and one with the Celtics. White and Porzingis have had long careers without a ring. Al Horford had the most playoff games without a ring. It's very surprising. Do you think they could bring the same team back for next season?
Yeah, I think that they will bring a lot of these guys back. I mean, this is a championship DNA roster, and I think that those guys know that their best chance to keep winning is to stay in Boston. I do believe that Karl Malone had more playoff games without a finals win. I think that the stat, because they showed that stat during the game, and Malone had played more games without a finals win, but then after we won the finals, the stat was that Al Horford went the most amount of games without winning the finals. And so overall, though, it's a really cool thing. And yeah, parade on Friday.
Do you think we're gonna, like, who do you think is not gonna be on the team next year if we were to, like, trade away someone?
I really don't know at this point. I would have to look at contracts and just think about it overall. But I think that, like, maybe some of the, the bench players, but not to say that they shouldn't be here or don't belong here. I could just see us retooling in some ways, but, like, this team worked out this team worked so well together that, I mean, I don't really see a reason to just blow up anything too dramatically. I really hope they don't.
My final question of this podcast is, what player do you think, like, which player did this win mean to the most?
I mean, I got to go Al Horford. I mean, we're talking about a guy who has played how many seasons in the NBA?
Like 17 or 16?
I thought 17, yeah. 17 seasons in the NBA, hadn't won a ring yet, has been here for a long time, left and came back. If not Al, which it probably is Al, I have a feeling that was probably Al's last game. You know, if it's not, that's great. I guess I probably should have mentioned that after with your last question, but if not, then, you know, Tatum and Brown equally, because they've been through so much together as a duo and been through so much not controversies, but just chatter. You know what I mean? People trying to separate them, people trying to throw a wedge between them, like, you know, like Jason Kidd. And for them to have finally gotten over that mountain top is very special.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all the time we have for today on my JUT Basketball Podcast. I want to thank you all for listening and watching my episodes this year. I want to thank Joe especially for being a guest these past two episodes. I've really enjoyed it. Look forward to next year's Boston Celtics season, the quest for Banner 19. Peace.